Hey everybody, welcome to the special edition, the video version of the Dirty Lazy Girl podcast. I'm Stephanie Laska, and I'm here with my co-host.
Hey everyone, I'm Tamara Sniezek, professor of sociology and Stephanie's co-host.
Welcome to the Dirty Lazy Girl podcast, everybody. If you're not listening here on YouTube, you can also listen just the audio version on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, or on my website, dirtylazyketo.com. Thanks for joining us.
Stephanie, I have faced a lot of changes lately, and I know we all have because of COVID. That's like the obvious one, but actually there's been a lot more in my life. I mean, some of them small, some of them big. I mean, we lost Joe's grandma to, she passed on. We were helping to care for her. But also, my son moved out of the house. I think I mentioned that in previous podcasts. So we're kind of dealing with empty nest. And then my daughter is going to high school. And Stephanie, she's going to have her driver's permit in like 2 months. I know. I'm like freaking out a little bit. And what I have to realize is like these changes are taking their toll on me, I think. I need to stop and say, hey, what's going on? And what do I do with all this?
No, I'm with you, sister. I know change is like a big topic right now. It feels like change is heavy for everyone. Mm-hmm. And I've been thinking a lot about this too, Tamara. So I'm glad we're going to really drill down to this today. And just thinking about change in general, I know during my weight loss journey, I really relied on a very consistent schedule to keep me on track. I would work out at the same time every day. Everybody knows I'd eat my celery, driving at work at the same time every day. I would grocery shop on the same day of the week. But now it's really all changed. And I find myself kind of slipping here and there. I feel like my whole schedule is upside down, even my sleep, my work, everything is just different. So I need to know how to handle this. I want to embrace this change and make it a positive thing. So let's hear some strategies, right?
Okay.
We need help.
We do. And we've got 7 strategies to cope with change and truly make the best of it. But before we dive into it, Stephanie, let's take a quick break.
Well, thank you, Tamara. I know, especially changing our eating habits can be really tough, especially during this time of year. So let me help everybody get started. If they would like to look at the screen, I've got the Dirty Lazy Keto Dirt Cheap Cookbook. It's 100 easy recipes to change, 100 easy recipes to save money and time. And for all of our listeners on their podcast audio only, I just showed a cover of the book for the YouTube listeners. So anyway, every recipe is under $10 to make. That's for the whole recipe, and every dish is 10 grams of net carbs or less per serving. So you can order the Dirty Lazy Keto Dirt Cheap Cookbook wherever you like to shop for books.
Thanks, Stephanie. Okay, so strategies to deal with change. Okay, number 1, and this is not going to be a surprise for those
Tamara loves the woo-woo. Here it comes, people. She's got her woo-woo-ness.
And I think we start this probably with almost every strategy, which is to acknowledge the change and your feelings. And I think like that for me, like just all the stuff I'm going through, just to sit down, like doing this podcast and taking stock of, oh my God, I have had all these changes, and oh my gosh, how's that making me feel? Like just taking stock, I think is a helpful thing to acknowledge. Yeah.
Just to even just say it out loud, or just to think, oh my gosh, everything is so different. I mean, Tamara, I know I shared this in my other book, the Get Started Losing Weight book, but previously in my previous life when I was much heavier, whenever a big change would happen, like when my husband lost his job, I would just eat my way through it. And I wouldn't acknowledge that I was having a problem. I wasn't acknowledging that I even was allowed to have feelings. I always went into fix it mode. I'm happy and I can do it and I'm so smiley. And I wouldn't tell anyone because I didn't want to appear weak or scared. So I think I just ate my feelings.
Yeah, and I do too. And even good change, Stephanie, can make, unacknowledged emotions from good change can make you feel bad, or it can cause you to emotionally eat. I mean, let's say you reach a weight loss milestone, you think, oh, I'm so happy. But all those milestones bring changes. You know, people start treating you differently. You have new problems, like you have to get new clothes, or so even a good change, you have to acknowledge that these changes have an effect on you, good and bad. And the emotions are going to be all over the place. Like sometimes you're grieving what you have to give up. Like my son leaving, I had to realize that's kind of sad. There's a part of me, I feel like a loss, but at the same time, I feel super happy.
I'm calling it wrong. You're all raising your hand. You're like, I'm calling it.
I know. And both can happen at the same time, which is weird. Like I can be like horribly sad and feeling like a loss and also elated. And then sometimes people get really angry at change. Like, why do I have to change? Like COVID, I tell you, COVID has made me angry a few times. Like, I'm like, damn it, I don't want to do these things, right? I don't, I'm sick of being stuck in the house. The walls are starting to close. And so, acknowledging these emotions is huge. And just being honest with yourself and being kind to yourself, saying, okay, here's the feelings, and it's okay to have those feelings. Like, it's normal.
It's totally normal. And like you said, they're all over the place, and that's okay. And you don't always have to talk about them out loud, because I know, Tamara, you're a little bit more comfortable and more in touch with how you're feeling. I am not. I tend to not know until after the fact. Like if I'm overeating like a chocolate mug cake for lunch and dinner, and then I'm like, really? And then I start to kind of reflect afterward that I'm feeling stressed or anxious. So as long as you're processing the feelings and acknowledging what's going on, that's what really matters.
And if you can start to pay attention to what your hidden signs are of, like for me, like, because I also emotionally eat, is if I'm feeling like really insatiably hungry, I've now learned that that's probably more emotion, but that's just taking time. But figuring out what those little cues are.
No, it doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah. Okay. What was number 2?
Well, number 2, Tamara, is that we want our listeners to know that you aren't the first one to go through this. So however you're feeling, it's like if your daughter's getting married and you're sad and angry and scared all at once. I'm guessing you're not the first person to go through that barrage of feelings.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes. Even things that are highly unusual and unique, there's somebody out there that's had a similar experience, and we're suggesting go out and find those people, or read the books, or go to the web pages, because it's super helpful. Like, I know I've been worrying about my daughter getting her permit. Well, that is a scary thing.
It should be. Having our children drive cars is terrifying.
No, seriously. And so what I did, and just because of this episode and because of this point, I actually went online, and you know what, Stephanie, there's a huge amount of resources out there. Like, there are certain car makers that have a little device that can put it on teen mode that actually prevents them from going over like 65 miles an hour. Like, how ingenious is that?
That is amazing.
Or they have like cell phone trackers, all kinds of trackers, or contracts. I'm like, this is fabulous. I mean, I don't know how much I'll use, but it's like just doing that research. First of all, I feel not alone. Like, there are a billion other parents freaking out about their kids driving. And then there's all these like hidden resources I didn't know about.
No, I'm with you on that one. I remember in the beginning of COVID and homeschooling, I was embracing it. I had like a schedule, I had awards and prizes, and just like a whole bunch of stuff. Like, I kind of went all in, and it was really fun. Maybe for me, not them, not the children. But now that it's kind of like gone on too long and we're all getting tired and grumpy and crazy, I've been looking for more support online about memes and jokes about homeschooling. And my favorite one, I don't know if you've seen, it's a family called the Holderman family, Holder, Holderness family. They're on Facebook, but the parents are hysterical, and they make all these funny videos about like the parents getting fired for drinking on the job, or the children getting suspended for fighting. So it's just funny. And it made me feel like, okay, I'm not alone. The fun is over. The novelty has ended, right? Like, there's support for other parents that feel irritated by the homeschooling.
Yeah. And I have to just throw in there too, you created Dirty Lazy Keto, the Facebook support group, for just that reason. Cause I think, if I remember right, Stephanie, you were feeling kind of alone. Like, am I the only one doing this crazy way of eating and running into all these issues. And so you started this, and now there's this awesome place for people to, you know, reach out to. And don't you notice too, like, one person will think they're the only one with that problem, and then like 2,000 people will respond.
Literally, yeah. And it was amazing. Like, you know, we talked about the swimsuit issue, we did that, and just about how we all feel when we get to the beach. And then I think I've mentioned this before, but it just blew my mind that a young lady posted her photo at the beach and saying it was her first time showing the legs. And there was like 2,000 comments of women saying, yeah, I get it. I'm with you, sister. Yeah. And it just makes me feel good that there's a creative space online where we can get support about the way we eat and how we're feeling inside, and our family, and sabotage, and the list goes on and on.
It's great. Okay, number 3 is to create a routine amidst the change so that we feel centered and not overwhelmed by all the changes. So, like, for me, and we do this every fall, I don't know if you do it too. With COVID, it's a little bit different, but we do this anyway, which is we start going into our fall routine, anticipating all the changes. So like now we're starting to like reduce the bedtime so that eventually she'll be at a decent hour for school, and then start waking her up early so she gets in that routine of, you know, going to bed. Also starting okay, here's a homework time, like getting into that routine of going back to school is super helpful, like to do it even before the change happens so that everybody's acclimated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, change can be a real opportunity for us to create new routines. So recognizing that when that happens, I think it's powerful, right? Like whenever, you know, I've heard this example about a lady who took a flight one time. She was going somewhere and she was at the airport and she got a latte. And then she was like, oh, that's so delicious. I don't usually get lattes. But now every time she flies, she gets a latte. So there's power in change, and she doesn't even want the damn latte, but she just keeps getting it. And so I remember at the beginning of all this, when my gym closed, and I don't really go that often. I go, I don't know, once or twice a week. But I remember thinking this is an opportunity for me with the big change in the environment to start a new workout routine. And I have to be conscious of that, because otherwise it'll get away from me and I'll just watch, you know, the news in the morning and not work out. Yeah. So I set up like a yoga area in my backyard, and I laid down towels and I cleaned it and just made it more inviting with plants. And I printed out all the yoga poses because there's no mirror, so I can't see what I'm doing. So I printed out the yoga poses, I put it in plastic and hung it on the wall. And I've made a conscious effort to every Thursday morning get out there and do my yoga.
That's so important. You see this with kids, especially, like they need routine, but we forget adults do too. Like it helps us deal with change, like, you know, to have your favorite breakfast, or like you said, your favorite exercise routine or whatever. And if change disrupts that, then just work on building the new one.
Building the new one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally right. It's an opportunity, but it's something you have to be aware of, especially at the beginning of the change.
Yeah. And make a point of doing it. Like when I travel or places where my routine's all off, I right away just start thinking of ways I can make a little bit of a routine, just so I don't feel all off, and, you know.
Well, that leads me to number 4, Tamara, okay, which is when you're embracing change. I think it's an opportunity to really stay present, which is good, because, right, like when change is going on and things are crazy, that tends to be the time that we remember the most. I think time feels very interesting and memorable. Like even when stuff goes wrong, it just, the change, like my kids talk about this a lot. They'll, like, all of our vacations to Disneyland have run together. They don't remember them separately. They're just one giant memory. But if, you know, the car broke down and we never got to Disneyland, and then we ended up staying at some rinky-dink place in the mountains or whatever while we waited for our car to be fixed, they remember that. You know what I mean? So it's like, it helps you stay present when you go through a big change.
It does. And I find that sometimes you can get stuck in the past, like, oh, this is how it was. And, you know, I know, like, we had someone who started working for us who was, oh, at my old place, at my old job. And it was like, okay, get out of the past and you're here now in this new place. It's tempting. And we've all done it. I'm not making fun of that person, because I do that too. And you can also go too far forward, like, what's going to happen? What's in the future? In fact, that's probably where I lean a little bit. Like, worrying about this future because it's new and I don't know what's going to happen. So I have to really work harder during change to say, okay, don't get caught in the past. Don't keep too much worry in the future. Just stay now and enjoy what's coming in. It's hard because you don't know what's coming in, and it's not your new normal yet. So This is a tough one. It's a challenge.
I remember when we first got married, my husband would constantly talk about we. Like, we did this, we did that, we went here. And I would like kick him and be like, hey, I'm your we. I am your we. Like, who are these other people you're talking about? Like, we're a team now. But he would constantly do that. And it took like some time for his we to not be like his previous life or previous experiences and include me. So yeah, that's a great tip. That was number 4, to stay present and to live in the present. And
be patient. It'll take you a while to get moved from the, to the now, but you can handle it. I think that's one way I reassure myself is stay present. I can handle whatever comes.
You can, because you can before and you're resilient.
That's right. You got to keep those.
But if you can't handle it, Tamara, what if you cannot handle it? What do you do?
You do number 5, which is ask for help. I'm not.
Okay, spoiler alert. This is awful for me. I hate number 5. I cannot stand it. I hate it. I'm terrible at number 5.
Me too. Like I feel like I'm burdening people. Like, oh, I don't want to bother them. I have a colleague girlfriend who does online a lot, and she offered, call me. I will help you set up your class. And I put it off because I was like, I don't want to be a bother. I don't want to be one of those moochers, and but until one day I just made a huge mess, and I just finally called her. And you know what she said that surprised me, which was, I am so glad you called. It was so nice to connect and for us to talk. So her help, I'm looking at it as a bother, but actually it's an opportunity to connect. And it's even, and I've heard this before, the way to think of it is you rob them of a blessing to be able to help you. Yeah. And if you think of it that way, you're like, okay. And if they don't want to help you, they can tell you.
They'll say no. Yeah, people don't freak out. Like, I remember at the beginning of all this in the summer, you texted me and you're like, I'm bored. Do you have anything to read? And I'm like, and I got so excited because it gave me something to do. And then I'm like going through my bookshelves and picking up books. And then I made a bike ride to take them to your house and drop them off. But yeah, you're right. Like, when you ask someone for help, it gives them an opportunity to come to your rescue and to bond with you and connect in a way that maybe you hadn't. So it's like a blessing. But I know you and I both struggle with this.
We do, don't we?
We do, yeah. And that's because I think we're overachievers. I mean, come on. Yeah. You and I have done well. You've got your PhD. You didn't do that by like whining and complaining. You worked hard. Yeah. And you probably learned to be more self-reliant, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
You learned skills. Like, if you ran into a problem with a computer, you didn't just call the helpline. You figured it out yourself. So there's a benefit to maybe not asking for help.
Yeah. And it's kind of the quote unquote American way. Like, I did it all. I pulled myself by my bootstraps.
Put on my bootstraps.
But this is the woo-woo part. Is like, it takes a village, to raise your kids, to do anything, to get a PhD, to do a podcast. Like, you and I enlist our kids. We enlist our husbands. We
put them to work. And I had to do a video recently for Cuisine at Home magazine. They had a food summit of chefs.
Ooh.
And for some reason they thought of me. I was like, I am not a chef, but maybe we shouldn't tell them.
Like, what part of dirty, lazy keto?
I know. I was like, this is dirty, lazy keto. I'm a very unprofessional chef that just tried to lose weight and kind of made some crazy recipes with Splenda. You guys sure you want me? But anyway, they asked me to shoot a video clip for their food summit. And because, no one's traveling to studios to film. So I had to do this at home in my own kitchen. Now, Tamara, I would like everyone to know my kitchen is very small. It's very old. And it's perfect for me, but to put it on camera, like that morning, 2 of the drawers broke off. Like the actual, like when you pull the handle to open my Tupperware drawer, the whole face of the drawer.
Oh my God.
It came off in my hand. Like, this is what I'm dealing with. And then my daughter was going to be shooting on the iPhone. And I'm like, you know what? I need to ask for help. This isn't working. So I called you, I called everyone I knew in town and just said, do you know anyone good with a camera? Like, nothing fancy. I just need help. So I ended up finding a guy who shoots open houses for realtors. And he's bored right now because no one's selling houses.
Yeah,
right?
That's brilliant.
Yeah, so he came and helped me out for a reasonable price. And I was able to ask for help and get a better quality product that I was happy with. And my husband glued the drawers shut with Elmer's glue. And they looked pretty good.
I was gonna say duct tape. Was there duct
hilarious.
tape?
There was like hot glue. There was double-sided sticky tape.
That's too funny. Well, just as a side note too, it reminded me, we're planning an episode, listeners, in the future sometime where we're gonna cook a recipe live for
it's happening. It's gonna be awesome.
Oh my God, but I'm already worried about my kitchen. I'm like, oh,
you don't have to be. Now that I shared with you that my drawers semi-taped shut with duct tape.
See, I don't feel so bad now.
You feel much better now, don't you?
Yes.
This is serious.
I forgot, like, I was like, oh, is there?
We were like vacuuming the counters with the dustbuster. I mean, it was a real comedy show getting ready. But I had to ask for help because I couldn't do it alone. I couldn't like have makeup on, be cooking chicken wings, be a video person, keep the house quiet, hand myself ingredients. So I had to actually just ask for help.
Yeah.
And it worked out better. Like, it's really cute video. And I will actually put a link to it in the show notes.
Oh, I can't wait to see it.
It's really cute. It turned out cute, but you cannot tell that I'm like crossing my fingers that the drawers don't fall off.
Don't touch the drawers.
Don't touch the drawers. Back away from the drawer. The Tupperware drawer will fall off.
Now, does that air on their website?
It is on the Cuisine at Home website.
And then you're going to link it. Oh, I can't wait.
And they invited me to be on their podcast, Tamara.
Stephanie.
I know, right? I better not tell that story. That's only
I think you should.
Listeners. That's only for the Dirty Lazy Girl listeners. When I'm on their show, I'll act all proper. I don't want to embarrass us.
All right. Let's move to number 6.
Okay. Is this number 6?
Yes.
Got to focus. We're having too much fun today.
I know. One of the things that helps with change is to surround yourself with familiar things. And that gives you comfort. I'm not saying live in the past.
But just a few things that are comforting to you.
Yes. Or for a little while until you're ready to, just slowly transition. And the example I have here is when my son left, I actually didn't automatically throw out everything of his, move my own stuff into his room. I kept a lot of, in fact, I still have a few of his things.
Oh, you're in his room right now?
I am.
It's the new podcast studio.
I don't see, those are my marathon medals over there.
Oh, I love that.
Those you can see. But that's one of the things I moved in, like, but I didn't, I kept his room kind of the same for a month or two, and then slowly, and that helped me, like having the familiar helped me change. And, that way you feel like you don't forget the past, you just, but it also
eases you into the change. You had a place to go in and remember and think about him and smell his smells and maybe see his bed.
Exactly.
That's nice. I don't miss Toy Story. It's like that Toy Story.
Yeah. Although I don't miss the smells.
Yeah, none of the stinky boy smells.
He's a teen boy.
You know what I mean? You know how like there's just
I get it.
Around. Yeah, that's funny. I do that a lot, Tamara, with food, especially when I'm traveling. I get very anxious. I always worry, maybe over worry, like I'm out of my kitchen, it's out of my control. So when I'm traveling, I make sure to bring, as you know from the packing episode, I bring a lot of my Dirty Lazy Keto foods that help me keep my weight under control, just things that make me feel safer. And I also always stop by a grocery store once I get to where I'm going and make sure I have things that just, I don't want to overeat. I want to feel good about myself on a vacation. So I make sure to have those foods while my environment's feeling really stressful and kind of out of control.
That's excellent. And that just reminds me, I take my pillow from home. And I think that's one of those.
Yeah, I remember you told me that. You said you're going to take your pillow to Europe. And I was like, girl, you're going to use your
Where are you going to put it?
Pillow? You said, yes, I am.
I think it's the same thing. It's familiar. And I know
so
my neck.
Funny.
I might have been a little tad unrealistic.
I thought it was a great idea.
Okay, our very last strategy is to accept the change. Don't fight it.
Don't fight it.
Yeah. That's what a lot of us do, right?
Yeah. No, that's true. I do. I remember I was talking about this in the Get Started book. I'm going to see if I have a copy. This one here, I knocked over my bookshelf. The Dirty Lazy Keto Get Started Losing Weight. I talked about the Buddy Eustace syndrome. I thought about that right before we started recording. People will say to me, oh, but I used to do this, but I used to do that, but I used to do that. It's like, really? Are you going to live in, high school or your wedding dress for the rest of your life? Like, you have to get rid of that. The change has happened. We've all had babies. We've all gotten older. Our bodies are different. Our hormones are different. You might be in menopause. Like, you cannot live in the past. You have to acknowledge the change of your life and just get started right now.
Yeah. And if you hold too much onto the past, you'll pay a price. Like, if I keep holding my daughter, no, I'm not going to let you drive, and no, I'm not going to let you grow up, she's going to have backlash. She's going to start rebelling. And so, I'm not saying I have to instantly change, but I have to be open to accepting it, because she's going to be a grown adult woman.
She's going to leave the nest at some point.
Damn it.
Yeah. You got to cut the cord.
I know. And it's, and that's something, I guess you just tell yourself, right? I mean, how do we accept it? It's a matter of
just to be aware of it. Like you said, it's like, don't fight it. When you feel it happening, sometimes it's okay to say, well, this is a scary time and I'm going through a weird change, and just go through the steps. And
back to our old fake it till you make it. Right?
Yeah, totally. And pretend, be like, I'm so excited you're getting your license. Here
are the keys.
Here, take me for a ride, child of mine. I know yesterday I had my daughter back the car out because we were going to wash the car. And I'm like, and she was in the car all by herself, literally for 12 feet. But watching her do that, and I'm like, okay, don't fight it. Don't fight it. She can do it.
Yeah, especially in front of them. Then you can go in the house and fall apart.
But it stuck with me.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious how our listeners cope with big changes in their lives. Please tell us your story by emailing Stephanie@dirtylazyketo.com or via Facebook or Instagram @dirtylazyketo. Before we get to our final hat, let's stop and take one last break.
So I encourage all of our listeners who are struggling with changing their eating habits to check out the Dirty Lazy Keto Dirt Cheap Cookbook, published by Simon & Schuster. It will be in stores soon, like Target and Walmart. But for now, order it online at dirtylazyketo.com/book. dirtylazyketo.com/books. There we go. I got it spit out.
Oh, and thank you for more on our blooper reel.
Thank you. You're welcome. You don't have to be perfect, people.
Okay, so we got to wrap up with our personal favorite hacks, and I'll start with mine. Mine is to use rituals to help with the change, and I know you're like, what is that?
It's another woo-woo.
It is. In fact, I heard this guy talking. He wrote a book all about transitions and people in transition, but what he found was that rituals were the #1 way people use to cope with it. So rituals are anything that like something symbolic to mark the change. So divorced people do this a lot, like changing your name back. Like, that's a big ritual, a big symbol, or having a divorce party, or getting a wild new haircut, or a whole new wardrobe or something. And those ritual things say, here's my new self, and it's an attempt to embrace the new self. I know for me, I've been sporting these like crazy hair colors. This is a new thing, doing a podcast. And I know, Stephanie, I talked about getting a tattoo.
Yeah, I'm still waiting to hear about that tattoo.
I know. And I'm like, why am I acting so wild and crazy? But I actually think, now that I think about it, I'm having a lot of changes, and the kids are leaving. They're getting independent. And so I think this is my way, my ritualized way of saying, hey, this is a new me. Look at this. I'm trying these new things and kind of finding out who I am.
That's a brilliant hack. I'm glad you shared that.
Thank you.
Mine is kind of sad now that my hack is very sad. It is to set the bar low. I'm talking low, people. Like, if you're dealing with change, like, make an expectation for yourself that is just barely above 0. And what I mean by that is you can become a superstar by surviving whatever bar you set. For example, when I first started exercising, and this is like way back when I just lost about 50 pounds and I was at a weight loss stall, I was trying to convince myself to get off the couch. So I set my bar very low. And for the first time getting out, I told myself just to get dressed and go to the end of the street and back. So honestly, I could have done a lot more than that, but by setting the bar very low, I could be a superstar. And I continue to do that. And that's a totally dirty, lazy girl trick.
It totally is. I read that.
It really worked.
I started laughing hysterically. I'm like, set the bar low.
Set it low, people.
But you know what?
Set it low.
It speaks to this thing that we set them too high. I see this all the time. I should lose 50 pounds.
No, you shouldn't. You should lose one.
Just
one. And then when you lose two, you're like, holy cow, I'm 200% above goal. It really works. I do this for everything in my life. I'm like, I want to stop eating out. I don't say that. I say, I want to stop eating at this restaurant one last time.
Yeah.
Or, just keep it really very small. And then your changes are much.
I even heard you say once, this meal. What am I going to do for this meal right now?
This meal only.
Yeah.
That's it. It's like the alcoholic, the one drink at a time. Yeah. It really does work.
It does.
As I take a drink.
Well, the bigger message, I'll give the bigger message while you hydrate.
Okay.
Bigger message is that change is inevitable. People, we can't avoid it, unfortunately. And change can be really hard. It brings up lots of emotions, both good and bad. But it doesn't have to cripple us, because we don't actually have to rely on experts, because we're trying to tell you that you are the own expert, right? You know yourself, you know the tricks that work and don't work. We've tried to give you some suggestions, but ultimately we believe in you, because as a dirty, lazy girl, you're going to smash it and you're going to ultimately do what's right for you.
That's awesome. Thank you, Tamara. Bringing it home. Well, listeners, if you're enjoying the Dirty Lazy Girl podcast, we are hoping that you will show us your support by leaving an honest review on Apple Podcasts. Here is how. On your iPhone, select the purple podcast icon. Use the search tool and type in Dirty Lazy Girl. Click on the thumbnail to open it up. Scroll down until you see ratings and reviews. Click on the stars, and if you would, select 5 stars. Scroll down and then select leave a review, type in your review, and hit OK.
So I have a review, Stephanie.
Ooh, I want to hear a review.
Yes. Okay, I'm probably going to pronounce your name wrong, but it's Heather Alert.
Oh, let's just say the first name.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Didn't want to.
Yes, that wasn't her full last name either.
Yeah. Okay, her name was Sorry about that, Heather.
Thank you, Stephanie. I totally forgot about that. Okay. See, she's looking out for you, Heather.
I'm trying, Heather. Just in case, you know what I mean? People aren't always wanting their name on the internet.
Well, Heather wrote, you are definitely an inspiration. Heart. For the first time, I feel like I got this. Today is day 1 for me. Good job, Heather. You took the day 1. I listen to your podcast as I walk the dog or on my lunch break at work. I feel like I can take on the world. LOL. Thank you for stepping out of your comfort zone and believing in yourself, then believing in all of us. You are amazing. I hope I'm another one of your success stories one day. I think she's already a success story.
I love Heather. Heather is amazing.
Like she's already, going out of her comfort zone to write this, thing and to announce to the world that she's on this journey. Like, and yay!
Podcast while walking your dog. We love you, Heather. Hello. It's Stephanie Laska, and I am one of the podcast hosts with my friend Tamara for Dirty Lazy Girl. Hey, if you're enjoying listening to our free podcast, would you do us the honor of leaving a review on Apple Podcasts? It makes a world of difference. I'm going to give you instructions how, okay? This is how it works. First of all, I'll say it really loudly into the microphone. On your iPhone, select the purple icon. Using the search tool, type in Dirty Lazy Girl. Click on the thumbnail to open it up. Scroll down until you see rating and reviews. Click on the number of stars you'd like to leave, hopefully 5. Scroll down and click leave a review. type in your review, and then hit OK. That's it. You're done. We really appreciate your support. Again, leave us a review, Dirty Lazy Girl, on Apple Podcasts. Thanks.